Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coin Bureau Clips. I am very lucky today to be joined by Irina Hiva. Now, Irina is a lawyer. She is an expert in crypto and blockchain, and she divides her time between Switzerland and Dubai. I must say I'm very, very envious. And I think it's also fair to say, Irina, that you're a Bitcoin maxi as well.
Yes, I am. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's absolutely an honor to be here. So I've been in Dubai for the last 15 years, and I call Dubai home. So every time I talk about Dubai, I am 100% biased because this is my home. I love this country. It gave me so much in terms of my career, professional, personal development. I met my husband here.
Wow.
We've made a family here. So so Dubai has a very, very special place in my heart, and I'm happy to scream about the benefits of being in Dubai from every rooftop. So before I got into crypto, I was a lawyer in oil and gas industry. I worked on multi-billion-dollar, multi-government deals for oil and gas exploration and development. I got actually headhunted to come here to Dubai to lead $11 billion project between the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Abu Dhabi, the government of Turkmenistan, the Development Bank of China, and a few other really big contractors. That's how I ended up in this part of the world. I'm lucky to speak a few languages. I was born in Central Asia, so when there was a Central Asian, this $11 billion project, so I got headhunted to come and work on that because of my language capabilities, and also, of course, because of my oil and gas and legal experience. I discovered Bitcoin in 2011. And I thought no government in their sane mind will ever allow for this network, for this peer-to-peer electronic money to exist. I was, as very conservative lawyer, I was convinced that we're going to be shut down, or this whole thing will be shut down. This whole bunch of nerds will be shut down before they will ever manage to do anything. How wrong was I? Look at us, it's 2023, and earlier this year, the government of Ras Al Khaimah announced the new economic free zone, and I'm very proud to be part of that initiative. Been orange pilling every government I can get my hands on for since 2016. So they announced that they will be accepting Bitcoin and other crypto payments for the licenses, for the office rents, and other activities. There will be many more very interesting announcements from various governments and regulators, not just across MENA, but also across Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and I'm very proud and honored to be part of those initiatives. They'll be coming out later this year. So yes, I left my corporate career in 2016. I was general counsel within the group of the largest shipping group in the world called Maersk.
Right.
So when I left to work full-time in Bitcoin and crypto, people, of course, thought I was nuts, that I must have some, middle life crisis or whatever it's called. Otherwise, how would you explain living the, perfect career in one of the best companies in the world to work with magic internet money? And honestly, I have not regretted that decision a day of my life. I love Bitcoin. I love what it stands for: freedom, liberties, personal liberties. And now I'm lucky to be spending a lot of time in Switzerland as well. Swiss Crypto Valley has been leading the way. I have a lot of clients there. I do a lot of work there. And also, of course, we do a lot of work here in the Middle East with governments, with regulators, with projects, launching crypto-dedicated economic free zones in cooperation with government, supported by the ruler himself. I mean, how... I couldn't have dreamt of being here back in 2016 when I left, thinking I'll support Bitcoin entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I couldn't have dreamt that we'll be here.
So crypto, it's obviously like so many people, crypto has kind of really, really changed your life. And you say you first heard about Bitcoin in 2011, and then 2016 is when you went sort of full into it. So presumably within those intervening 4 years, you kind of learned about it, educated yourself about Bitcoin. And I mean, you must still be one of fairly few people in the legal industry with that kind of expertise, with that kind of knowledge. Is that fair to say?
I think it's very nice of you to say thank you very much. I would say that it's a fair thing to say. There are a lot of really good lawyers working in the space. But yes, back in 2016, when I went in this space full time, I couldn't even explain to my law firm what the hell am I doing. I couldn't explain to them what is this Bitcoin that she's working on, because at that time a law firm was still sending faxes, because the way the law firm is set up is there are partners who have their practices. So my practice, I called it emerging technology. I couldn't call it crypto. Now I proudly say I'm crypto lawyer and my practice is crypto. Back then I couldn't say that because people would probably arrest me on the spot. But I called it emerging technology. And another partner who was, let's say, in charge of shipping, another partner who was, let's say, in charge of commodities, they were still sending faxes to their clients. And here I am talking about smart contracts later in 2017, 2018, or talking about code as law and all of that. People could not comprehend what is it that I'm doing. Absolutely.
So I guess there was this kind of thing, like, people are gradually starting to hear about it, and you've kind of got to stay ahead of the curve in keeping up to date, because crypto, as we know, is an industry that moves so fast. So in order to kind of, not only are you, I guess, trying to keep up with the developments in the industry itself, but you've also got this added angle of what does it mean from a legal perspective.
Yes, and I was very proud to be invited by almost every regulator in the region, as well as in other regions, to explain to them what Bitcoin was. In 2018, I drafted the first bill that actually got passed into law about Bitcoin mining. I consulted other governments and regulators on the, how do you tax this asset? What is this asset? And that was actually quite an awesome position to be at, because so when I learned about Bitcoin in 2011, I completely dismissed it. Then in 2013, I was like, okay, maybe that is something, and I started studying it more and more and more. And then by 2015, I was completely converted, and I was running little meetups here in Dubai. My first meetup, one person came to hear about Bitcoin. My last meetup in Dubai, 7,000 people came.
Wow.
So this is how this thing moves, right? And yes, I was known as the crazy Bitcoin lady who keeps talking about Bitcoin. But then I was doing actually something more. I would take a phone out of anybody who would let me. I'll show them how to download a wallet, and I'll send them $5 worth of Bitcoin or whatever the smallest amount you could at the time, based on the network, etc., etc. And I would be then I would teach them to send it to the next person, because that's the point of network.
Yeah.
You send it to one person, that person needs to send to another person. So and through those activities, I met a lot of awesome people. I have a huge network of government officials who know me, trust me, and like me. That's why I'm in such a privileged position to work on the initiatives once the initiative comes up. Because if there's a crypto initiative out there, of course they will think about the person who sent them their first Bitcoin. Not full Bitcoin, some of it, right? Of course they'll think about me, and of course I'm shouting from every rooftop about the benefit of Bitcoin and the benefit of the freedom and liberties and the financial and peer-to-peer. And so of course being at the top of the memory list of people is quite useful.
Yeah. I want to go back to that idea of you talking to people in government, because that sets up something that I wanted to talk to you about specifically. Now, obviously, as you say, you've been here in Dubai for 15 years now. So you are going to know a heck of a lot more about the place than most people, certainly a lot more than me. Now, one of the things that I think everyone in crypto is aware of at the moment is that Dubai is very much in the headlines for becoming kind of not just a regional capital of crypto, but also it seems to be going for the kind of world capital, especially given everything that's been happening from a regulatory point of view in the United States. And like that, in terms of the United States, I think that's a bit of a can of worms. But firstly, is that really the case? Is Dubai kind of on this path to become the capital of crypto, or is that kind of, is that just a narrative?
I always like to be a little bit outrageous and a little bit optimistic. I do say that Dubai is already the crypto capital of the world. Just look what's happening. Go at any crypto event. Look at who's moving into the city, right? Binance, the Coinbase was on the founder of Coinbase was on the stage just literally last week talking about considering moving to Dubai. Every VC fund I know has called and tried to see how they can relocate here. And that's what you need, right? That's what you need for an ecosystem. You need good progressive regulations, and we'll get to that. You need great founders coming here, and we see that. You need great talent coming here, and we see that. Unfortunately, of the war happening in Europe, a lot of people are relocating to Dubai, so a lot of tech talent is coming here, which Dubai, by the way, never had. Dubai never had tech talent. This is, in the last 2-3 years, they only started moving in. That was always the problem with Dubai, but now the problem has resolved itself. Of course, horrible things are happening in Europe, but Dubai is the benefactor of that. Then what else do you need? You need the investors, the ecosystem of VC funds coming in, and those people are coming in. You need media, crypto personalities, and they're coming in just like you are here, right? So I mean, just look at it. The ecosystem is growing exponentially. I mean, that's absolutely astonishing to see that. And then what happens once people come in? What happens? Great services, such as lifestyle services, restaurants, schools, etc., appearing. So Dubai has done just incredible in the last 3 years when it comes to the crypto sort of scene and the ecosystem. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one thing worth mentioning as well is that to outsiders especially, but I think even when you're here, there can be a sense that Dubai is solely where it's at in this part of the world. But of course, we're in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. So there are 7 emirates in total, and it's fair to say, isn't it, that I think most of the crypto industry that's come this way so far seems to be clustering in Dubai. But that's not to say that there's kind of competition from other emirates in the region. Is that fair?
That's very fair, and that's what people need to understand. UAE is a federation, and a federation consists of emirates, right? So Abu Dhabi is a capital, but also an emirate. Dubai is a city, but also an emirate. Then we have northern emirates, Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, Ajman, Sharjah, and others. So these are what UAE consists of. When you're in Dubai, it's very easy to forget that Dubai is part of the UAE, and nobody will blame you if you call Dubai a country, because in my mind it's more of a city-state like Singapore, with own laws, with own culture, with own government, with own government structures. So it's nobody will blame you if you call Dubai a country, because it definitely very different from Abu Dhabi, and Abu Dhabi and Dubai are very different from Northern Emirates. And why are they so different? Because when the federation was established just 51 years ago, those were separate country states. Those were separate tribes, if you wish. So they came together as a federation. Few other countries were planning to join, like Bahrain, but they didn't, so they stayed their own country. But that's what happened 51 years ago. And that's what we forget, how much Dubai, specifically, and UAE altogether achieved in 51 years. Switzerland is 731 years old. UK is 317 years old. I mean, just think about what was happening in the UK when UK was only 51 years old. I mean, people were still running around with sticks and, I don't know, hunting potatoes. I don't know what, right? So
that's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and just look at what we have here in the UAE, what the rulers and the leadership of the UAE has achieved in 51 years. That's quite astonishing. So when it comes to Dubai, when it comes to the regulatory landscape, specifically with regards to crypto and Web3, we need to always have in mind that Dubai is its own kind of regulatory environment. Abu Dhabi, its own regulatory environment. Each of the Northern Emirates can have their own rules and regulations, but not as much as Dubai and Abu Dhabi. But then there are federal laws apply to everyone. And so there's a lot of happening in Abu Dhabi, but Abu Dhabi is more modest. It's a little bit more quiet. It's a little bit more subdued. They don't like marketing. They don't like. They're the opposite of Dubai. And look at Dubai. What was this actor that was at the top of Burj Khalifa, screaming literally from the top of Burj Khalifa how awesome Dubai is and how everybody should move here?
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember who it was, but yeah,
he was married to Nicole Kidman, I think. Was it him? Never mind. So we literally put like most famous actors at top of Burj Khalifa to scream how amazing Dubai is. I mean, who else does that? No other country, government, city does that.
Yeah.
Dubai does that. That's why it might feel that everybody's here because that's what you read, that's what you kind of told. However, it's all great to be optimistic, and I like to be optimistic. However, don't trust everything you read. Don't trust every sort of news out there. Always check. But yes, Abu Dhabi, with Abu Dhabi Global Markets, which is a financial free zone, they've achieved really awesome things. They had full crypto market regulations since 2018. Kraken is licensed there, a few other local exchanges like Midchains. Binance Custody is licensed there and operating out of there. I'm not sure if they're operating or not, but I know they were waiting on a couple of final things. There are a lot of funds registered there. There are a lot of law firms registered there. There's quite a busy free zone, and they're now expanding from the island that they're on. They're expanding and taking over the nearby islands because it's growing tremendously. Venom, the UAE's first regulated blockchain and the token issuance, is there for a reason because ADGM had the regulatory regime for them. And if you look in Dubai established their own regulator called VARA, and Dubai also have a financial free zone called the IFC that issued token regime in 2022. And the way each regulator sort of approaches regulating crypto is so different, and I can understand why it is confusing, because also don't forget we have 45 jurisdictions in the UAE.
Yeah.
Name me another country of 10 million people with 45 jurisdictions. It takes a while to comprehend that. It takes a while to understand what on earth is going on. And so a lot of not very decent services providers taking advantage of this very, very heavy regulatory regime. So one need to take a lot of careful consideration before establishing in any of the jurisdictions to see if it really fits your business or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, just going back to Abu Dhabi very briefly. So, as you say, like a lot of the industry has been there for several years now. And it's I get the impression that Abu Dhabi, as you say, it's a lot more conservative, I guess, a lot more quiet. But actually, Abu Dhabi in the region, in the UAE itself, is kind of calls the shots. Is that fair to say, or is there?
Abu Dhabi is the capital, right? Abu Dhabi has the oil and money talks. Abu Dhabi is the president of the UAE, is the head of Abu Dhabi. So yes, Abu Dhabi does call the shots in certain things, of course, especially with regards to the federal.
Would you say there's kind of a healthy competition between the different emirates? Like obviously Abu Dhabi is calls the shots to an extent. The central bank's obviously located in Abu Dhabi, but it seems to me that each emirate, there's obviously an overarching federal level, but then there seems to be the opportunity for individual emirates, and Dubai is the best example, to kind of to kind of push the envelope, push the boundaries, if you like, and come up with their own sort of innovations in order to attract not just the crypto industry, but others as well.
I don't think there is a competition. Abu Dhabi holds 9% of the world's oil reserves. 9% of the world's oil reserves. There's no competition there. Dubai has, as part of its GDP, only 1% of the oil that is being produced here. So it means Dubai has no oil. People forget that Dubai has no oil, so they had to improvise, right? You have to, you have to develop other strengths. And that's what Dubai did. The father of the current ruler had this vision for the infrastructure, for the ports, for the roads, and people made fun of him. People thought that's very not very wise of him to be spending loans from British Empire building the infrastructure and the roads. They were so wrong. Just look at this, how wrong they were. One of his most innovative projects is still alive today. It's called the port, the Javza port. And that was the first free zone set up in the UAE, and people worldwide, countries worldwide, still learn from that Javza example to implement free zones in their own jurisdictions. That was so innovative. He was encouraging entrepreneurs to come here, trade entrepreneurs to come to Dubai to establish in the port. They promised 100% foreign ownership, which was never the case in the region. You always needed 51% local owner. Tax-free, sort of free repatriation of capital. There was a complete innovation what he implemented in the 80s and 70s. So
this is the idea of the free zone. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know that you've mentioned it a few times now, and it's something that often comes up when people think of Dubai. This idea of these free zones that exist, and as you say, this was the kind of big idea to attract innovation to the region. So just how do these free zones work? How many of them are there in Dubai as well?
There are around 30 free zones in Dubai, plus or minus, because new ones are popping up, the old ones are merging together, and that is too many. That is definitely too many. So the way that they're set up is as follows. They're set up by industry. For example, there is a free zone that is dedicated to commerce, like e-commerce. There's a free zone that is dedicated to media, like a media free zone. There's a free zone dedicated to internet companies, but every company is an internet company nowadays, right? But back in the day, back in early 90s, that was very innovative, right? An internet city. So this sort of economic free zones started popping up. Some of them are government owned, some of them are actually private as well. We have private economic free zones. So and the benefit of the free zone was the following. First of all, you can have your company 100%, so 100% foreign ownership of companies, which was never the case in the mainland jurisdiction. Also, full repatriation of capital, no dividends, no taxes, no excise taxes, nothing, which is going away, by the way. In 14 days, will be subject to corporate taxes. Everybody get ready. There were also other benefits, such as very easy to set up. It was so easy to set up in a free zone as opposed to a mainland jurisdiction. Dubai economy department was a little bit slow. It was very heavily paper-based, so it was very slow. You needed to hire somebody to go there, fill out the papers. Whereas with free zones, they were treating you as a client, so they were more easily available via emails and faxes, etc., etc. So that distinction is slowly being eroded by various legislative campaigns. For example, you can now set up a business onshore, UAE, and for many businesses, types of businesses, the requirement for 51% shareholder got removed. So you can own that company outright yourself. Also, the taxation that will start applying to companies onshore and in the free zone, the federal law with regards to taxation will be exactly the same to everyone. So that distinction is being eroded. And also, it's very easy to incorporate a company now in onshore rather than the free zone. So will the free zones still be around? Will they still thrive? Yes, I believe so, because some of them are very, very purpose-built, like the free zone in Ras Al Khaimah that is specifically being dedicated to Web3 and crypto companies, because they're building all the bells and whistles tools and all the other things that the Web3 and crypto companies need. But will we still have 30 plus free zones? Maybe not. Maybe some of them will get combined or even dispensed with.
Sorry to interrupt you folks, but I have to let you know about the Coin Bureau deals page. Now, my team and I have been able to pull together some of the best promos and discounts in the whole crypto space. We're talking trading fee discounts of over 50%, thousands of dollars in bonuses, amazing deals at top exchanges, reduced prices on hardware wallets, and much, much more besides. So just go to coinbureau.com/deals, also linked to below, and find the promo best suited to you. And now, back to the video. Okay, so we talked about the free zones and obviously this really sort of innovative model that they came up with here, this idea of, I guess, making it, seeing what companies wanted in order to move here and basically giving them just that. And the big talk at the moment, and the reason we're having this conversation, is because of the crypto industry coming here. And as you say, it seems there's so much momentum behind this move, and there are obviously many things driving that. Now, as I've mentioned before, regulation is a big deal in crypto throughout the world. So what's the regulatory landscape like here? Who's in charge of regulating crypto, both within Dubai and the UAE in general?
That's a very good question. Who's in charge? And it's very important to figure out, because if not, you'll be making quite serious mistakes. So we talked about UAE being a federation. So there is a federal regulator, and we have two of them, a central bank, and central bank is regulating the payment tokens and the payment methods, as well as everything else they have to regulate, banks, issuance of currency and everything like that. Also CBDCs is under a central bank. So that's central bank. Then we have Emirates Security and Commodity Authority, ESCA, and they are the main federal regulator of all virtual asset services activity, and they became that main regulator for virtual assets literally 2 months ago with a new law being passed. The law was passed in December and it came into force in January, so 4 months. So for them, that's a very new activity to regulate. They've been focusing on the funds, they've been focusing on commodities, on issuance of securities. So that's a new additional area for them to regulate. As per that law, there are 6 activities that are subject to that federal regulation. So think about exchanges, broker-dealers, custody. So those are the virtual asset services activities that the federal regulator said if you're providing those services without the license, you're breaking the local rules and regulations, and there's a fine of 10 million dirhams for you. We will also take away the profits you might have received, and if you're super naughty, then we'll send you to the general prosecutor. So the consequences are quite serious, so do not do that. Now, in the same very law, ESCA said they may nominate a local regulator or local representative in each of the Emirates in order, to take the burden off them or for the ease of doing business.
Yeah.
So Dubai has a regulator called VARA, Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, that got actually established last year before the ESCA law, before the federal law. They got actually established last year. And presumably, they're that local regulator in Dubai, although nowhere in law it says so, but we can probably presume from their name. In February, so a year after being established, they passed full market regulations with regards to virtual assets activities. And there are 8 activities that they regulate. So they added a few more on top of what federal authority is regulating. And if you want to perform activities in the Emirate of Dubai, virtual asset services activities, you have to get VARA's license in order to do so. Last year, VARA was quite active to issue preliminary licenses. I mean, they licensed an FTX subsidiary as well, which created a lot of outcry, and a lot of people were quite unhappy with that. But their new regulator, I mean, we're all humans, we're all here to learn and to develop. So far, from top of my head, there's only one full license, which is given to BitOasis, a local exchange that started back in 2016, I believe. So good job on Ola and her team for achieving that. It's a huge milestone. And so that's VARA, Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, and it applies to the business happening in Dubai. Remember, we discussed that each emirate has borders, right? And that's what is quite challenging being a lawyer in this space. Countries have borders, cities have borders, emirates have borders, crypto doesn't have borders. So my law firm practices in 60 plus jurisdictions. So imagine how challenging it can be navigating the landscape. So we talked about Dubai. However, something really bizarre happened literally a month ago when the federal regulator, the Security and Commodity Authority, came out and said, even if you have a license from VARA, you still have to come to us and get a license from us as well. So that created a little bit of a resonance because, you know, is VARA the regulator that you put in, that sort of your delegate in Dubai, or is it not? So we're looking to receive clarifications on that. At the moment, it's a little bit unknown. So if you, for example, decide to do business in Ajman, Ajman doesn't have a local regulator, therefore you'll be subject to the federal regulator. However, to make things a little bit more complicated, the financial free zones, such as DIFC and ADGM, are outside of the federal regulation and outside of the VARA regulation because they have their own regulator.
Right.
ADGM's regulator passed the full market crypto, sort of very detailed crypto regulations back in 2018. And they've been licensing exchanges since then. DIFC has recently passed token regulation, which is a little bit bizarre, and we can talk about that. And so they have taken their own approach in regulating crypto. So they're not subject to federal regulations. They're their own entities, and they're doing their own things. Just to make things slightly easy for the lawyers out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to ask you that because as someone with a foot in both camps, if you like, you obviously, you're a lawyer, so you have an idea of the legal side of things, and you're into crypto, so you can see what the industry is trying to do. That seems to me, that they are trying to put a regulatory framework in place here, but it seems that they're still very much trying to work out the most efficient way to do that. Is that true, or is it more a case of everyone is kind of just trying to go their own way in terms of different emirates, different authorities, different free zones? Is it a bit of a free-for-all?
It is absolutely not free for all, no. We talked how that the UAE is 51 years old, right? I mean, just up until a few years ago, we had 3 federal regulators. Now we have 2, so things are getting better.
Okay.
So don't give us a hard time. We will get there. And I sincerely mean that. This crypto is such a new area, right? So establishing a virtual asset only regulator was quite an innovative move. Nobody has done it. And also, let's look what's happening in the US. it's a completely ridiculous situation. Regulation by enforcement. This is what you don't want.
Yeah.
I would rather have laws. I would rather have multiple regulators to go and talk to. It's called jurisdictional arbitrage, and practicing jurisdictional arbitrage is one of my favorite things in the world, because I go to one regulator and say, "This is what I'm planning to do. Would you regulate me? Yes or no?" And then while they're thinking, I go to a few more. I'd go and date a few regulators, find out the most friendly one, and marry that regulator. Because being regulated is worse than getting married, because you cannot get rid of your regulator. You can't just divorce them. Your business will be completely ruined. So, and it's not really free for all. There's a president, there's a government structure, and also don't forget the rulers' families are married within each other. So it's not only that, but also their cousins, they're related. The families are very close. The Emirati community is very small but very tight. Everybody knows each other. Everybody supports each other. So it's not free for all, but it's not a perfect situation yet.
Yeah.
I would consider Switzerland quite a great progressive jurisdiction. But the way Switzerland is 731 years old, and the way Switzerland is, just think about old money, old banks, old financial institution. You send a letter to FINMA, you receive an answer 3 months later, inshallah, God willing. I still receive letters in Switzerland, actual physical letters. So my immigration process to Switzerland was quite interesting, to say the least, because I had to write letters, I had to post the letters. I haven't posted a letter, I don't know, in 15 years maybe.
They don't really do post here, do they?
No, there is no post here. But yes, I had to post letters, and then the letter and then I'll receive a letter back. So, and that's how you deal with a regulator in Switzerland. Very different. Here, you can send an email, you go to an event, you meet the regulators. It's very easy to reach the right person in the UAE. That's what I love the UAE. It's very easy to meet the right person at an event, ask for a meeting. And not just the UAE, entire GCC. I was at an event and I met the governor of Central Bank of Bahrain. I introduced myself. That was back in 2018. I introduced myself. At the time, I was running an exchange here locally. And he asked me, why are you still not regulated in Bahrain? And I said, I'll see you there on Monday. So on Monday, I was in his office applying for the Bahraini regulation from the Bahrain Central Bank. And this is very, can you imagine in the UK meeting a governor of Central Bank and then sitting in his office the next day? That will not happen.
I think they do everything possible not to make that happen. Yeah, I think that's their worst nightmare.
And here is exactly the opposite. You can reach the decision makers or the people who work for the decision makers very easily. You can explain your case. You can advocate for yourself, and that's lobbying governments. That's a lot of work we do as well. Trying to explain very nicely what the business model. Try to explain why it is to be regulated or it's completely outside of the regulatory regime. That is why the entrepreneurs should be just left to their own and continue working. So that's how different this part of the world is.
Okay. So let's put ourselves in the mind, because I think a lot of people watching this, obviously most people will be into crypto, at least I hope. So and with the crypto industry and lots of crypto holders, lots of crypto enthusiasts maybe either coming this way or thinking of coming this way. So what I want to ask is, let's put ourselves in the mind maybe of a Web3 entrepreneur, someone who wants to either move their Web3 company, their crypto company, whichever it is, over here to, let's say, to Dubai for the sake of simplicity. So a company first, what would be their first steps? What would they have to do in order to begin the process of setting up that company here?
So setting up the company is only one step you need to consider. So first of all, as we discussed, we have 45 plus jurisdictions. So you need to find the correct jurisdiction for your entity, for your legal entity. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, you have to do it at the same time. You can't do it not together. At the same time, you need to understand what you're planning to do. Is it a regulated activity or not? If it is, who is your regulator? Where do you apply? Because if you set up in the wrong jurisdiction, maybe this jurisdiction is not even, maybe the entity from this jurisdiction is not even able to get regulated for various reasons. So the first step when crypto Web3 entrepreneurs come to us, the first step we do a regulatory and legal business review. So we'll look at your business, we try to understand what is it that you're doing, what is it that you're planning to do. We try to understand, are you planning to issue a token or not? Because that's a whole can of worms on its own. Are you planning to handle third-party funds? How are you planning to do that? So we do a full review of your business, and then we do the recommended structure. And the structure normally looks as follows. Holding entity, which will hold the assets, which will hold the IP, which will hold the business. And here's the jurisdictions you may be able to set up the holding structure. Then you need an operating or development office. Crypto people will understand, dev office. And that is a perfect place for UAE. Tax-free for another 2 weeks, and then very, very, very low tax rate and not applicable to all the income, only some of it.
I should say that's a corporate tax rate. That's not an individual tax rate.
Corporate tax rate, right? Then you also need to think of a token issuer, and there we will give the options where the token issuer can be issued. It cannot be in the UAE for various reasons, such as VAT, because every time you sell and buy token, there is a VAT applicable because it's a commodity, not a security. It's only the financial services are exempt from VAT, right?
Right.
But we're all claiming that our tokens are utilities. That is why a jurisdiction where VAT is applicable might not be the best jurisdiction to issue the tokens from. So we need to sort of consider where you will do that. And then a lot of Web3 businesses are structured as DAOs. So we need to consider a DAO legal wrapper, whether it is a Swiss association, whether it is a Marshall Islands DAO LLCs, whether it is some other legal wrapper, legal structure for the treasury management. You'll need to consider that. So there's quite a few steps involved in launching a crypto and or Web3 project, but don't let it scare you. Lots of people are doing that. It's not scary. You just need to sort of turn your mind to that, and a lot of really good people available on the ground to sort of assist you with that. You speak to a couple of people, find somebody you feel comfortable with. There's a lot of Eastern European entrepreneurs are moving to Dubai. Although they speak English, they still feel comfortable speaking to me because I speak a couple of Eastern European languages, and some of my team speak a few more. So, so they feel comfortable speaking their native language. So find a lawyer is like a proctologist. Find the one you're comfortable with and just go with that, because otherwise your life will be a little bit uncomfortable, and it's our job to dig, but you also have to be a little bit comfortable in the process. That's the best way I would describe lawyers, especially in what we do in crypto, right? Because we really have to probe, we really have to dig, we really have to be obnoxious sometimes.
Yeah. If you take one thing from this interview, that's probably a good thing to take. Okay, so the process is pretty involved for moving a company here or establishing a company here. But obviously there are firms like yours. There seems to be a lot of infrastructure in place in order for that to happen. And obviously that's in the interest. That's something I guess that the authorities here are encouraging, because that smooths the process over.
Exactly. Services providers are very important for the ecosystem support and for the ecosystem development. However, you have to find a good one, first of all, and secondly, the one you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then your life will be slightly less problematic.
Yeah. Okay, and obviously, so we've talked about the idea of a company coming here and setting up or moving here. Individuals as well. Now, Dubai especially has become known. Obviously, a lot of crypto people have moved here. You see a lot of people driving around in Lamborghinis, etc., etc., etc. But leaving sort of people like them aside, let's say you're someone who's been in, you're a crypto enthusiast. You may not necessarily work in the industry itself, but you have you've invested quite a lot in crypto, and you decided that you would like to sort of move out here. How difficult is that? Is that a fairly straightforward process for individuals to do?
It's a very easy process for individuals. It is so easy to immigrate to Dubai, to the UAE in general. They've made it so easy. For a reason, right? We need more people. We're only 10 million population strong. We need a few more. And the process is straightforward. There are multiple options, such as buying a property, receiving a golden visa and all of that, but I would not recommend going down that path. I would recommend something very traditional, such as setting up a company and getting your own company, employ you, and issue you with the employment visa or an investor visa, and you will receive the Emirates ID and all the documents necessary in order to live here happily ever after. You'll need an Emirates ID to open bank accounts, rent a car, rent an apartment. So that's very straightforward. You need to basically come here for a 2-week holiday, go through all the immigration paperwork, and 2 weeks later you get your Emirates ID. Might be taking a little bit longer now because we've got a huge influx of individuals, but normally a good services provider will get it to you within that 2-week period. And with that Emirates ID, you can rent a nice place, rent a good car, and live happily ever after. A lot of people, especially wealthy individuals who've made their wealth in crypto, are considering moving to Dubai or to UAE and are moving to Dubai. We're moving a lot of people. I call them crypto refugees. So a lot of them are coming here in order to save on taxes, in order to actualize the profits from their crypto activities. We see a lot of that. However, there's a huge warning sign. Yes, Dubai does not have personal income tax. That is correct. You can come here and you can enjoy tax-free life. However, the country where you're from is not going to let you go that easily, right? They have their own tax laws. They have their own tax sort of structures, and they will do everything possible to claw those crypto profits from you. So you have to be more concerned about exiting your country properly.
Okay.
And also you need to enter UAE correctly. And if you do that properly, then you can enjoy your crypto profits tax-free. So we work with tax accountants in the home jurisdictions of those high net worth individuals that we're moving. And the first step before we move you is to understand what is your liability over there. How do we make sure that your jurisdiction is not going to claw that back? Because we've seen that a few times. People move, live here happily ever after, and then they receive a tax bill back in their jurisdiction. So it's important to exit correctly. And also, there is we see a lot of nomads, right, in the crypto space. If you lived in that country, in this country, you have to be careful about those countries as well, because they might want to say, well, fantastic, thank you very much, I'd like my taxes now. So you have to, it's all great taking advantage of the low tax jurisdiction, and it's legal. Tax minimization is legal. Tax avoidance is illegal, and that's what you go to prison for. What's that guy, that mafia guy that went to prison for tax avoidance?
Oh, Al Capone.
Al Capone.
Yep.
So Al Capone is actually a really good example, and I give that example to my crypto clients quite often. He was proudly bragging that no taxes can be levied on his illegal activity of whatever he was doing there. Let's not name that on camera. And he was not paying taxes on his illegal activities. But then he found out that's not the case. You have to pay taxes even on illegal activities. So some crypto entrepreneurs say, oh yeah, but what I do is only crypto. It doesn't apply to real life because it's not connected to real world. No. Your tax authorities in your native jurisdiction would perfectly connected to the real world and would want to take their cut of the pie.
The tax man is not easily avoided. I think, that's one of those universal truths, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's an interesting point to make, isn't it? For people out there, this idea, I think maybe a lot of people have an idea that perhaps they can make a whole load of money in crypto or otherwise, or maybe sell all their assets, buy Bitcoin with it, put it all on put their private keys on a hardware wallet, fly to Dubai, and everything's just fine. They need to be aware. It's not so much a case of coming to Dubai, as you've said. That's a relatively straightforward process, and they are very welcoming here. But that doesn't mean that you can forget about the country you're leaving behind.
Absolutely, that's the risk we need to consider.
Yeah. Okay, and from a legal point of view, and I'm talking sort of more generally here. But are there any other particular do's and don'ts that you can think of for anyone sort of moving here, whatever reason it's for? Is there anything else that they need to be aware of moving to Dubai, or for that matter to the UAE in general?
This is a very welcoming country. Get your paperwork in order, certify your degrees, have copies of your children's birth certificates, get all it attested, legalized, notarized, and all of that. Because, your marriage certificate back at home is not valid here. It needs to be properly attested in order to be valid here. So sort out your paperwork. I think that's just an admin thing nobody wants to do, but unfortunately we have to. Figure out your banking situation. Figure out, pay all your taxes in your native jurisdiction, then come here. Otherwise, it's so easy here. Like, it's so easy to come here, find a good place to live, find a good car to drive, get a good school to send your kids. What I love about the UAE and Dubai specifically, it is so easy. Everything gets delivered. I moved here in 2008, and I moved here by myself. I had my apartment furnished in less than a week. Wow. So it's so easy to get things done. I mean, try getting a new couch in Switzerland. There's a full month's waiting period because you wanted that fabric instead of what's available. It's Dubai really spoils you. Oh my God, Dubai really spoils you. So during the pandemic, when we moved the household to Switzerland, it was quite a shock.
Yeah.
It was quite a shock.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people talking about that, how things were generally quite a lot different here whilst during the pandemic, when lockdowns and stuff were happening. I remember a lot of people talking about how that had been, the situation here had been markedly different. And I think that was most likely something that really triggered a lot of people to start moving to this region.
Yeah, some countries like my native Australia, I just had it horribly. 3 years not seeing mom because I couldn't travel there. She could not leave Australia. That was just horrendous. Yeah. That was really, really bad.
Yeah. You've mentioned Switzerland a few times, and as I said, you kind of divide your time between Dubai and Switzerland. So I presume in the winter months you're here enjoying the sunshine, and then come summer here, which is unbearably hot, so I'm told, then you're back off to Switzerland.
Yeah, that's quite a privileged lifestyle I lead. I'm very, very happy to be spending summers in Switzerland. So I'm actually leaving next week. So
So we caught you just in time.
Enjoy the summer in Dubai.
Yeah.
See you in Europe.
So in terms of Switzerland, then now obviously Switzerland is one of these other sort of jurisdictions that has become well known for being very crypto friendly, and I guess perhaps Switzerland's most famous for Crypto Valley, and obviously kind of the birthplace of Ethereum, for example. So just to give us a bit of perspective, we've talked so much about Dubai and the UAE in general. Can you talk a little bit about the setup in Switzerland for, from a crypto perspective, and, maybe some of the pros and cons of people? Let's say someone, again, this theoretical person wanting to relocate. What's Switzerland got going for it?
So, unfortunately, you cannot just relocate to Switzerland. You cannot just show up and say, hey, I'm here, I'm going to live here. That is a very closed community, and it's a very closed country, not part of European Union. So, as a European, if you don't have a job in Switzerland, there's certain procedures you have to go through, prove your wealth, etc., etc. It's quite hard to get in. I mean, I'm married to Swiss, so that was my passport in. I was not planning to move to Switzerland when I married him. I just Met an awesome guy, married him, and here you go. It just happens to be from them. Win-win. So Switzerland is a beautiful, beautiful country. I love it. It's such an old country, such an old history. I'm very, 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 very happy with my second home. However, Switzerland is very, very traditional. It's very, very conservative. It's very, very. It's just so sad in its way. It takes everything takes 3 months. Anything the smallest thing takes 3 months because there's no rush. We'll get there. So the Crypto Valley is absolutely famous. There's thousands of companies set up there. Zug is this tiny, most beautiful little town. I mean, it's absolutely stunning, that place, on a beautiful lake. So if you ever have a chance to visit, you absolutely must. That whole country is just stunning. However, it's not just easy to set up. There's certain things may never be allowed in Switzerland, and some things may be allowed here as a business. So when I look at Switzerland as a jurisdiction and UAE as a jurisdiction, I look at them as a complementary, not competing. They're definitely not competing. They're complementary. For example, the great thing about Swiss jurisdiction, you can set up an association there very quickly. An association is a great legal wrapper for DAOs. So we're setting up a lot of associations in Switzerland. Yes, the Ethereum Foundation, Cardano Foundation, Near Foundation are the most known ones, but they're structured as a foundation, which is a little bit of an old structure. The new structure, like Casper Labs. Casper is an association. So newer structures are associations. Amazing legal wrapper for DAO, but they're a little bit expensive. RAG DAO, for example, in Ras Al Khaimah Digital Assets Oasis is coming up with their own DAO legal wrapper, which will literally be 1/10 of the price of the Switzerland. So they might, compete with Switzerland for that, which is amazing. Competition is great because, the more competition you have, the better offers you have, the better service you have. Competition is fantastic. And I like competing jurisdictions against each other. Well, if you don't give me what I want, I'll go there. And then suddenly it's possible. Suddenly we can do that. Another great thing about Switzerland, we've got a great history of fantastic banks and the really old banking families, private banks. So some really awesome banks came out of Switzerland, like SIBA Bank. So they got established in Switzerland, and now they're established in ADGM as well. So they got regulated in Abu Dhabi, in ADGM. It's a crypto-native bank, crypto-native asset manager. So I would never look at jurisdiction, I would never look at the UAE and Switzerland as competing for the same piece of the pie. The pie is so big, it's not even a competition, but I would look at them as complementary. There's a really awesome association we're now setting up in Switzerland, and the company will be building. It's a DAO constructor. So if you and I decide to have a DAO, we'll have to use their services and build our on-chain DAO.
Okay.
But the dev office we're setting up in the UAE because developers are from Ukraine. They would rather be safe here than in other places. And it's a great jurisdiction. This is a great jurisdiction for dev office. So we're matching the jurisdiction and making it complementary. If you want to do a token issuance out of Switzerland, it might not be very friendly when it comes to taxes. There's withholding taxes and all of that. So there are better jurisdictions where we could put you, and then you still have your association in Switzerland and you have your dev office in Dubai. I always say keep an open mind and take the best pieces from all over the world. I mean, the world is your oyster. Crypto doesn't have borders. Bitcoin doesn't have borders. Why should your mine have jurisdictional borders?
Yeah.
But otherwise, Switzerland is a beautiful, stunning country, and I would encourage everybody to come and visit. A little bit on an expensive side to do business, and that's a major underestimate. Yeah, Switzerland is a little bit expensive, especially for startups. So I would not recommend it easily to everyone because it is quite an expensive jurisdiction to set up, but also to continue doing business.
Wait for the bull market, in other words.
I think even then it might be a little bit too expensive. Yalla, come to Dubai.
Okay, so I just want to close out with thinking. Now we've talked about Switzerland, and we've talked about Dubai and the UAE. Now, there, as we mentioned earlier, there really is a sense, and you confirmed this, that you feel that the UAE, Dubai, is going to become the sort of Web3 capital of the world, and it's certainly making that push. So, are there any other particular aspects, any other reasons why you think that mission is likely to succeed?
Absolutely. I can name so many reasons from top of my head. We talked about no taxes or very low income, very low corporate income tax, which is coming up. And still there will be so many activities exempt from corporate income tax, and still there will be thresholds, so like minimum thresholds, no taxes, and then taxes only. So very, very competitive. Also the safety, to have your family here, have your kids here, it's so safe. I can walk at 3 a.m. on the street and never even have a worry in my head, whereas in Switzerland I will not be walking at 3 a.m., although Switzerland is a very, very safe country. Infrastructure, we have first-class infrastructure, but we're still a developing country. Look at our roads, the ports, the air connections. You can be anywhere. You can jump on Emirates Airline. You can be anywhere within 6 to 10 hours, anywhere in the world. Well, 14 hours if you're from Australia. So it's very, very, very easy to reach. Also, English is the working language. The working language in Switzerland, there are 4 different working languages and none of them is English. So, you have to think twice before, if you don't speak fluent German, you have to think twice about moving to Zurich. Yes, people speak English. Yes, of course, but everything is in the native language of that canton. And you're expected to converse in that language, not in English, which is a little bit problematic. Yeah, some people might say, Hong Kong will be the next crypto capital. They don't speak much English. I don't know.
So do you think, because Hong Kong is getting talked about a lot at the moment in crypto circles. 1st of June, Hong Kong is going to legalize retail crypto trading. There's a lot of people thinking that is going to potentially open up the Chinese market, and Chinese retail are crazy about crypto, So is there competition for the UAE from there, or do you feel that they're not going to come close?
There's like alpha males, beta males, we're the sigma male, right? UAE is doing its own thing. We're a sigma. We have no competition just because we're so awesome. But jokes aside, we've been trading crypto in the UAE since when? 2016. And Hong Kong is planning to legalize it next month. There will be a little bit of a catch-up to do. And okay, so crypto trading, fantastic. Yes, the Chinese community is quite big in that. Well, that's fantastic. That means big volumes for exchanges. What does it do for the ecosystem? Can you still get bank accounts? Can you set up your Web3 project? Can you easily move to Hong Kong? The answer is no. Have you tried to rent an apartment in Hong Kong?
I've heard a lot about Hong Kong property prices.
People live in cages. Literally, there was a documentary where there was a room, and the room has cages. So you don't have an apartment; you have a cage in the room. I'm sure not everybody, and I'm sure there was maybe low-income sort of estates, but still, that does not sound very appealing to me. Hong Kong is, it's easier to rent a place in Zurich than in Hong Kong, from what I understand. And what do you need for the thriving ecosystem? You need talent, you need people. Okay, fine, you've got huge traders from China, but the huge traders from China can reach an exchange in Dubai. I'm sure people heard of VPNs by now. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't think Hong Kong will be a great competition to Dubai, but I'm all for competition. I'm all for other jurisdictions getting their things together and becoming a competition to us here, because that means we will have to improve. Then it will mean we will have to provide a better service, a cheaper service, and better, cheaper, improved service is better for everybody, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I think that's what the crypto industry needs, isn't it? And perhaps that's the way the crypto industry needs to think. You know, it's had a difficult year, especially with what's been going on in the United States and elsewhere. And I guess rather than thinking, oh, well, we need to, one particular place needs to be dominant above all else, and which we've kind of seen with the United States. Crypto really should perhaps follow the code of decentralization. You know, the more places that we see popping up around the world that are receptive to the industry and that go to the lengths that we see from the UAE of welcoming it, then surely that's better for everyone involved in crypto and even everyone just interested in crypto.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Well, Irina, this has been great. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I've like to think that I've learned a little bit about Dubai and the UAE in my time here, but it's amazing to talk to someone like you who knows it so well and has got such a good perspective on everything that's happening here in relation to the crypto industry. And it's great to know that businesses wanting to come here have people like you that they can come to and smooth over, make that process all the easier. So before we go, where can people get in touch with you? Where can people find you, on the internet?
It's very easy to find me in LinkedIn, Irina Hever, or Twitter, Irina Hever. Look out for account with a blue tick. There's hundreds of imposters trying to ask people for money, including my own mother sometimes, which she's quite still panicking, but she's learning. And also my personal account, or my personal website, sorry. I'm a speaker, so I have a personal website, irinahever.com. Very easy to find me. Send me a message. I absolutely love hearing people's stories, bad experiences, good experiences, and if we can be of help in the UAE or Switzerland or elsewhere, I would be very happy to help.
Fantastic. And we'll leave links to all those places and many more down below. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you to Irina for joining me today. We'll be back soon.
Thank you very much.